Good morning YouTube and the internet. Today I'm doing something different. I'm actually working on the Falcon, the towboat. I don't plan on doing a lot on the channel for this car. I don't do a lot on this car, but there are a few bits and pieces I do need to do from time to time, and more content's more content. It's not as fun to work on as anything else, the 300 or the R32, but it needs to be done. And I did meet someone, I know someone who didn't know how to do an oil change on their car. They googled how to do it they YouTubed how to do it, and based on that video they were able to do an oil change on their car. So some people out there who are less advanced in their mechanical abilities, they still might find this interesting. All I'll do today is just the simple oil change. It's a very easy car to do an oil change on, lots of access, plenty of space in the engine bay, nothing like the 300 or the 32. It's a simple straight six overhead cam job, so it's very easy. Very big engine bay, lots of ground clearance, very easy to get under. So yeah, here's that. I did say these have got plenty of access and room, and they do, but there's one fault in the design here, and it's up here with this cross member. So this piece of the casting I don't think has any purpose. Maybe it's got a purpose in other models, I'm not sure, but it's in the way. When you undo the sump, the oil's going to stream out, hit this, and then just fucking go everywhere. So I hold a funnel up here. This is basic, so I'm going to explain the simple basic steps for this for the people who don't know. This is a 15mm socket here. We just crack it loose. Shouldn't be too tight. And then we undo that while holding this and trying to not burn ourselves, because we run the car to warm the oil before doing this. That makes it thinner and it makes it run easier. There we go. Once it's got less flow, it'll just run out and it won't hit that subframe eventually. So you don't have to hold it here the whole time. But once that's drained, we'll get the oil filter out. Not a great design here either with the oil filter location. There's good access, you can get at it real easily, but the oil likes to drip down here behind these hoses, and they're sort of all these lines, and they're in the way a bit for cleaning up. But if you're careful and quick, you can usually get this off without too much oil getting away. But make sure your tray's ready. Try and keep pressure on it to stop the oil coming out if we can, and pull it away when you're off the last thread, nice and vertical like that. And then if you've got an oil pan like this, you just plonk it on the stand, and she's golden, and you can see the oil running down on these lines. So you need to have a rag ready to start cleaning that up straight away. Get the bulk oil. It will keep dripping. It'll keep running for ages, so you just want to get ready and get the other filter on there without wasting too much time. Rubber seal here, it does want a little bit of oil. Now I've just cleaned that surface with the rag, so there's no oil on it. If you've got one that you don't have to clean so vigorously because the oil keeps spilling out of it, then the oil on there is probably enough. But in this case, I'll just dip my finger into the oil that's come out and just smear it around there. That's all you need. Before we do that, because I'm an idiot, what we want to do is put a bit of oil in here first. We want about 3/4 fillet, so when we start it, it's not pumping oil into the oil filter with a big airlock in it, trying to pump it through and then out. Putting oil in these is as simple as it seems. Pour it in, try not to spill it all over the place like I just did. Do a 3/4 fillet. Any more than that, it's just going to fall out when you put it on the tilt to put it on the thing. But just get some in there and you'll be golden. These filters have got a drain back valve in them too. So yeah, anti-drain back valve says it on the box, I can see it on the ground. So you want that. That prevents the oil from draining out of the filter too much every time you turn the car off as well. So if we look in there, all of that oil has been soaked up into the filter material. So I'm going to put some more in. These just need to go on hand tight. You do not need to put the wrench on it, the filter wrench, to do them up. So reverse of removing, and we will lose a little bit of oil probably. If we keep it rotating, it doesn't settle to one side and can't pour out. But if you're too slow, it will. Well, you do only want it hand tight. You want it tight, hand tight. Grab your rag so you can grip it. And then we just clean up here again. This should be the last time because there's no more work being done up here. Alright, we'll just give that 5 minutes to let the last of this oil drip free. And then we'll put the sump plug in and fill it up. So, in a straight rip-off of Planet Stever, this is a 1 beer job. Or 3 if you drink that quickly. Unlike him, I don't tend to knock it over though. Okay, you can't see, but I can see up here. There's no more oils come out off the bottom of the filter. Well, actually, I lied. There was a small drop on the end of the filter itself, but nothing running down the sump anymore. So we'll just pick up this oil here, get rid of that, and then put our sump plug back in. So if we just do it up finger tight, clean up that last bit of oil, 15mm socket. I'm sure there's an exact torque spec for this, and I think it's about that. So it's quite snug, but it's not tight. And then, you know, just at some point in the not too distant future after you finish your oil change, just have a quick look, make sure nothing's leaking from your oil filter or your sump plug, and that's that. Now we put some oil in it. Alright, putting oil in, as simple as taking off your 710 cap. This it says on here, use 10 weight 30 oil. Now this is 5 weight 30. 5 weight is the viscosity when it's cold at 0 degrees. The 40 weight is its temperature, is the viscosity at 100 degrees C. So freezing in at boiling point. Obviously the oil is not actually thicker at 100 degrees. What they do is the old oils that were single weight, they weren't multi-weight oils, they use those numbers. So it behaves like a 5 weight oil would at 0 degrees, and it behaves like a 40 weight oil at 100 degrees. So during that entire process it is getting thinner, but it doesn't get as thin as a lower weight oil would. It only gets as thin as the 40 weight oil. So the reason we use the multi-weight oils is when it's cold, we need the oil to get up to the top of the engine quickly to prevent damage on startup. And then once it's up to temperature and running, we want the nice thickness of the oil to protect the engine at temperature. So if we were to put a 5 weight oil, or just say a 10 weight oil, as the cap says, a 10 weight cold, to get maximum startup protection, what would happen is once the engine was up to temperature, the oil would become too thin to do its job. It would lose its viscosity and it would damage the engine internally. So that's why we use multi-weight oil. I always use a full synthetic. If you use a full synthetic on an older car that's only ever had mineral oils in it, you may find oil leaks. That's not the fault of the oil. What it does is it cleans out all the muck and the gum and grime that's been sitting there plugging holes and seals. So there's nothing wrong with continuing to use mineral oil to prevent that, but if you do swap to a full synthetic oil with the extra detergents and things that are in it, you do run the risk of then having leaking seals where the dirt and grime that previously wasn't cleaned up by the oil is cleaned away, and then the oil can get through. So that's oils. This is what Penrite recommend for this car, the 5 weight 40. All we need to do now is pour that in. Feel free to use a funnel if you want. I find tipping the bottle on its side to be not very effective at all. Oh fuck, damn it. So now all that oil is running down onto the exhaust, and I should have used a funnel. This will take every bit of this. I think the engine takes 5.5 litres, and then plus the oil filter. Look it up in your service manual, or look in your oil pan as to how much oil came out of it. Is another good way. Give them time to warm up before you drive them. It's not a problem. That fits. If it fits, it sits. So we'll give that oil a couple of minutes to run through and do its thing, and then we'll check the level on the dipstick and see how much more I've got to put in. The car's fairly level, the way it's jacked up, the driveway slopes downhill. Final stage now, the oil's at 95% on the line, so time to fire up the engine, pump the oil around, fill up the oil filter completely, and then let it rest again for a couple of minutes, let the oil drain back, do the final check. I'll take the oil with me after a drive. I'll top it up again now, but then once I'm done that, I'll check the oil at a service station where I know the level is good. I'll have it right on the underside of the full line, and that's where I like to run my engines. I like to have the most amount of oil in there as possible. The oil is a cooling item, and the more oil you've got, the more it's able to draw heat out of the engine. So that's part of what it does, as well as the coolant. The oil also draws heat out and performs a cooling function. So I don't know if you heard the slight knocking for just a second as it started it up. I don't know if the phone will pick that up or not, but that's literally the engine being started for oil for a second on startup. That's because the oil filter needed to be filled up, because it's the first point that the oil pump pumps the oil before it goes through the rest of the engine. There's oil, residual oil all through the engine. It's not going to damage it in a hurry, but that's what we're talking about with first startup wear on an engine. So that's why we run it now too, because we let it run, we let it fill the oil filter, we let it pump everything around, then we just check the oil level again after a few minutes, let the oil run down, and we'll be good to go. If you've got a perfectly flat driveway, you do it there, or if you've got a nice flat garage, but I don't. As you can see, I'm sort of got the sloping driveway issue, so I've got it jacked up to about level, and that's it. That's how you change the oil on a BA Falcon, or any Falcon, or pretty much any car at all. Well, I said I was at the final step before, and I don't know how I loaded the video, but that wasn't the final step. I want to show you how much oil running it and filling that oil filter takes up. So we were at probably a genuine 80% before on the oil filter, on the oil level, and now we're down to about 40%, maybe 50. I don't know if you can see it on there because the oil is very clean. So it's going to need another couple of 100 mil, which is what the oil filter has taken up, soaking all the paper elements in the filter and just filling the volume. That's why we put some in it to start with. Otherwise it takes even more oil, takes longer to start up. It has a start condition for a longer time, and you have startup damage happening to the engine. Always make sure you follow that step. So it's just, again, it's a case, top it up, give it 5 minutes, check it, then drive it away, check it tomorrow. Final top up if needed, and then you're done. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. I'll give it half of a star out of 5 stars of difficulty level. Literally need one tool, something to catch the oil in, oil and a filter. Or 2 tools, you want to get the oil filter off. But if you have never changed your oil before, or you don't know what you're doing, hopefully this is a helpful, informative video. If you know what you're doing, hopefully it was amusing. If not, it's the shit. It's what you get.